But for the very first time ever, all of my tractors are in the same building. At the wall over there, all the way around. There's even a couple in the corner over there. All the way, all the shelves over here are gone. Weekly, and that thing took forever. Next here is a original, meaning this is what it's supposed to be. Single cylinder GT18. I think this is a 79 or 80. I think it's more like a 79. These are quite rare. They're not the most desirable thing out there, but you don't see them every day. They didn't sell very many of them. They're supposed to have a OH 180 Tecumseh in it, which would have been a really cool engine to have in here. But instead it has a little 8-horse Briggs, which, you know, it runs a little goofy. Because you gotta constantly adjust the choke, which is pretty common for those Briggs updraft carburetors, it seems like. But other than that, it always starts up. It has a fuel pump, runs off the tank in the back. One of my favorites to just drive around because it drives really nice. Then we have my 77 12.6, which is the only one of this style I have. Not my favorite machine around by any means. It looks kind of neat with that front end that kind of looks like a robot. But I have this just because it's different. It's made in the same assembly line as the rest of these, but it's something different. So it's kind of like a custom. That's what it's supposed to be, I guess, is a newer version of a custom. But I have just one of those just to fit the gap, so I can say, you know, I have that body style. And then I have a 1970 Hydrotrack 12 clone that I made the whole frame and everything on. When I say that, I mean like the front frame we actually bent and welded together. The middle frames here look original, which we could have cut that, but that kind of looks original. The rear frame, we bent the steel and made that. The floorboards are made. It has an Eaton 7, I believe, hydro, which there's kind of a look of that. That's out of a Simplicity lawn tractor. I think like a Simplicity 212 hydro has them. They have 1-inch axles. They're pretty durable as far as pulling power, but because the axles they're not real beefy as far as how much aluminum they have to brace it. So I wouldn't put a ton of weight on them, but as far as like 3-point attachments and stuff like that, you should be fine. But I wouldn't pull like, you know, a trailer or something with heavy hitch weight with it. But they got a lot of pulling power. I rebuilt one the one time. The hydro itself is really well made. There's nothing inside that's going to strip out. So it's better than like that Craftsman hydro that's in that Roper Hydro 13 over there. But it's definitely still not, you know, like factory Sears hydro. Then we have my old reliable 76 or 74 SS16. Which has a mower deck on it. I used to use this to mow the same time as that GT18, but it got replaced by the John Deere, which has a much larger deck. And so that's just that's been used to kind of mow the like golf cart trail we got out back, and kind of like, you know, small stuff and whatever, kind of like the GT18 does. And then we have my tried to replace many times, but nothing can come close to beating it. Roper 20T, which this is another one I had for a very long time. Dozer blade in the front, always. And then depending on what attachment I'm using on the back, which right now is a tiller. This is the only tractor right now that I have no idea on how I'm going to get out, because if you try to make this corner here, you're going to hit like everything. So I think, now that I see it, if I wanted to get it out, I could drive that way and then maybe back up here, but that's getting pretty tight for that dozer blade, because this is one of the wider dozer blades. I think that's a 48-inch. I have the smaller one, and it's way smaller, but I don't know offhand the size of this one, but it is quite large. Then there is the John Deere X595 diesel with the loader. One of my most reliable, you know, heavy-duty machines. 4-wheel drive, so it literally pulls out anything. Building our house, we got a 10,000-pound telehandler. It was getting stuck in the sand, and I would take this and I could just push the thing with no issues. It's pretty crazy that just a glorified garden tractor can push a 10,000-pound piece of equipment. And then here we are with the 77s. We got a 77 18.6 Briggs Vanguard, 18 horsepower. This thing starts up and runs great. Holy cow, we're almost at 32 minutes. I guess I didn't lie when I said it was going to be long video. 18 twin hydro, Honda GX 390 or something like that is in it. 77 16.6 twin cylinder, but it has a 390 Life-In in it. Waiting on a carburetor for that. And then a 77 16.6 single cylinder Tecumseh. This thing starts, you could have it sit for a month, 2 months, doesn't matter. If you throw a battery in it, you could just bump the key, it'll instantly start. Oh, this is one of my least favorite machines. This is that John Deere. It's supposed to have a diesel in it, but the diesel had a broken crankshaft. It's X495, so it is the two-wheel drive version of this. But the cool thing with that is I have all kinds of parts in case something was to happen with the engine in that one. But this one has a 22 horsepower Kawasaki that runs like total garbage. So I call this one a Kawasaki because it sucks. It runs just enough to drive it around and move it. Other than that, I wouldn't really want to drive it around because it runs really bad. But that's just going to kind of sit until I can figure out a different engine for that that's better. And then I'm going to like actually fix the front tires, like put tubes in them to keep those from going flat. And actually probably use this as the grass cutting tractor if I can put a diesel in it. And then the next one is another John Deere, which is my current grass cutter. This thing runs pretty good. Has a 27 horse Kawasaki that somebody else repowered it with. Really good grass cutter. One of the, oh dang it, don't stick your foot there. Really good grass cutter. One of my, probably my all-time favorite machine to cut grass with, because 8 miles an hour forward speed, reverse is pretty fast, 62-inch deck, adjustable seat, adjustable steering wheel, foot control hydro with cruise control, hydraulic lift, you know, everything you can ask, power steering, just like the other two. But as far as a grass cutter, this compared to a Sears, there's really no comparison. It's just bigger. Next to it is my 35T Hydro. This was supposed to replace my 20T that's way over there with dozer blade and stuff, but I don't think that's going to happen. This thing's kind of dangerous, and the reason I say that is one slight little wrong move, if you have the engine revved up too high in that lever, and this thing takes off like a rocket. It will literally do everything except crash, which I haven't crashed it yet. But this thing has power steering, hydraulic 3-point hitch, which would be really difficult to use without, you know, doing a wheelie trying to pull an attachment with it because it's got so much power. But yeah, that's that. I should probably put that engine in something else and then put something a little bit more usable in this. What I should do is take this 35 horse engine and put in that John Deere, and then maybe put like, you know, maybe a 420 or something else a little bit more sized for a small garden tractor in that. This one here is a machine I call Big Ugly. It's a 74 ST16 with a cracked and broken ghost grill on the front with a SS15 sticker riveted to it. When I say cracked and broken, I mean it's actually broken along here, and it's broken along here, and there's some metal sketchily holding the grill together. It's painted black because if it was painted white, you would see the imperfections in it a lot more. And this grill, or the hood rather, isn't that perfect either. There's like patches to fix it. And there's all kinds of pits in the metal because this was really rusty. There was actually a hole right here, and I filled that in. You can kind of see the outline of it. But I call this Big Ugly because it's, I don't know why I call it big, because it's not that big, but it is ugly because it's probably one of my uglier ones. Has a stack, which sounds really cool. Other than that, that has a Honda something. I don't even know what it has. Has a GX 340, which I think that's like 8 or 9 horsepower. Not a bad little engine. I think this 18.6 over here is one of my last tractors to show you before we go exploring off into the upstairs land and out back. This has the old Predator 420 from that red golf cart, which I'll get to in just a minute. The transaxle has a lock differential, and the tires go flat after 5 minutes. So, yeah, not much else to really say about this one, other than I guess that's the table for this extension cord. And it's jammed in the corner because there's no room by the other 77s. Because if I was to park that here by the other 77s, I'd have to move this John Deere back, and then there would be no room to bring this blue cart of mine in here. So this blue cart is electric, lithium. That was a pretty penny right there. AC drive, 25-inch tires. This thing goes 40 miles an hour. Doesn't accelerate very fast, but it has a lot of power, especially for electric. Not a bad machine, other than that battery costed a fortune. And then next to it here is my 55 plus mile an hour 420cc. Has alternator because the original charging system cannot do nothing to run any wiring or anything. Has the Comet clutch because the original clutch with the pedal start is not going to work with an engine like this. Has a tachometer / hour gauge, which this engine hasn't even been in there a year, and there's already 77 hours on it. It has lights around the roof on the outside, lights on the bottom, which is difficult to see with my camera light. It has headlights that, well, they're flickery right now because of the fuel pump, but it has headlights that glow red. Has a GPS speedometer, which is kind of neat that it actually... Those are like 20 bucks on eBay, and they work. I bought one because I'm like, a lot of people have them. I'm like, do they work? They do. The exhaust on this is kind of a nightmare. That is a 4-cylinder forklift muffler, which is the only muffler I found that could hold up to this engine. The rest of them, it blew it apart. And then to get to that muffler, there is a flex joint here. And then there's a little bracket to support it, and then it goes to another flex joint. And the reason for two of them is after breaking the muffler, I don't know, hundreds of times it seems like over the past 4 years, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to put a bunch of flex joints in there because it must like flexing so it breaks the metal. So to prevent that, I'm like, just put some flex joints in there and problem solved. And it hasn't broke since, but only time will tell. We've got a couple of Kawasaki's, which these are the same that is found in that John Deere that I complained about a little bit ago. 12-horse Tecumseh, which this thing runs, as far as I know. The only thing is it's missing a coil. It's missing the flywheel, the part that goes under the flywheel for the coil. So that's the reason it's not in a Sears. And then there's the on and off of the 500,000 that did run when it was pulled, so I should just put that back in there. This parts department is a disaster, but I'm going to go through it anyway. So, golf cart kind of parts for the business. Kohler command parts, so there's a couple parts for that. Sears tractor transmission parts, which these are the transmissions that I know have problems. So they're just for parts. There's like case parts and miscellaneous gears. These are all my like Honda clone type of parts. So I have, recoil shrouds. I bought like a good dozen engines over the past year and parted them out because they were junk. We've got carburetors, which have issues, but, if you need a part off one, they're here. Ignition coils, pretty much everything other than the main block, which there are one of those in here. Vanguard V-twin parts. Only reason I know that is because it says on the box. Kawasaki parts, which there's only a few of those. Miscellaneous air cleaner shrouds, which you never know what you'll find digging through here. Onan parts, which suddenly has gotten way larger than I had before. Like, I actually have 4 shrouds now, which I didn't know I had until now. Lots of heads, which at one point in time I was missing heads for a couple of Onans, and now I have 3 sets probably. I think there's 3 in there. Briggs parts, which I have quite a bit of those, especially for like vertical shaft lawnmower engines. Miscellaneous other Briggs parts. A really old flathead Briggs horizontal shaft with no compression. Opposed twins. This Intech 1350 that doesn't have compression. Push mower engines, miscellaneous carburetors. More random engines. And if you are still watching, you're really dedicated at this point, but I'm going to keep going. Got some hoods, miscellaneous hoods. This was like, you know, floor to ceiling, but I buy tractors without hoods, and I need hoods, so the pile keeps going down. We've got battery trays, got hitches, rear hitches, miscellaneous dashes, which none of these are going to be in great shape. Like this one's broken. Pretty much nothing up here is going to be in that great a shape left, because that's why I haven't used it yet, I guess. Miscellaneous mufflers, miscellaneous Sears parts. I don't know why it's so dark in here. I have the lights on, but it's still dark. Luckily my camera has a light. All kinds of like side shroud things. And then these things. I hate these. These go on the Sears, the transaxle pulley. I pull these off of every single one. And somewhere around here there's a huge bin full of them because I pull them off. The reason I pull them off is in the event the belt falls off and you're like, you know, way in the backyard, the belt will actually get pinched between this and the pulley. So you have to come all the way up and get a 1/2-inch wrench to take this off to get the belt back on. And I decided, you know what? Just pull these off. If the belt falls off, you can put it back on without a tool. So I just pull them all off. There's forget where the crate is full of them, but it's somewhere. There's a bunch in here, unless this is it. There's a bunch of front ones on it. Yeah, I think this is it. There's a bunch in there. More deck hangers, which I've been putting those back on, so I've been starting to run low on those. Hydraulic parts, so off of hydraulic stuff I part out so I can make crazy contraptions out of. Here's hoses, some cylinders, miscellaneous stuff. There's a bucket that's supposed to have these pipes in it, but it never gets picked up. Miscellaneous fittings and stuff for that, because I buy stuff and then not end up needing it, so I keep it. Mess of electrical stuff. When I said this upstairs is a mess, I mean, it's a mess. It doesn't get any better. Piles of golf cart stuff. It's always really hot up here, because it, you know, heat rises. So it's always super hot up here, so therefore stuff just kind of gets brought up here and just ditched, and I walk back downstairs. Miscellaneous other parts, pulleys, a whole bunch of pulleys. However, they're not the right ones I ever need, it seems like. Battery cables, mower deck chute, whatever, blah blah blah. Miscellaneous tires. Okay, I think that is about it up there. Next, I'm going to take you out to the back couple of buildings and show you what's out there. Alright, the backyard is looking pretty empty. There's, of course, a scrap metal pile. One reel mower left, which I should probably part out and then I can scrap the rest. Miscellaneous metal stuff that I use when I build these contraptions that I do. My good Sears transaxle pile. I can't even see the screen, it's so bright out here. I don't know why this is outside. It really should come in, but it'll be coming inside here eventually. The dozer blade, my extra dozer blade. In the tent now is all of my, like, soon to be for sale golf cart chassis, which right now there are 3 electric chassis and then 1 gas up there. And then of course we just kind of piled the bodies that need to be painted in here, which I have so many cart bodies for these, it's not even funny anymore. Behind these buildings. I'm not going to show you that though, but I have probably 30 of them. Miscellaneous tires don't hold air, so they're not on anything. In here now is another one of the golf carts that I kept for myself, which I have 4 golf carts now. I don't even know why. It's kind of dumb. Like, this one here is totally unnecessary. I guess I kind of wanted a go-kart, and instead of having a go-kart, I made this. So this has another 420, a Comet clutch. This particular cart goes around 35, 20-inch tires. This thing basically is just to cruise around the property and drive like a maniac with. Has a lot of power because it's such a large engine, which Little tires, has a flat top piston, and the carburetor is jetted out, so it makes quite a bit of power. This thing is fun to drive, and with only having brakes right now on one tire, it's scary. The excavator, promise I'm just about done. The excavator is in here because I decided to park all the big stuff into the shed and have the sears all in one spot. This basically just needs paint, and I think it's done. But I kind of moved on to other stuff, and this came in here, and here it is. Of course, with the new joystick, it works so much better now. Pretty happy with it. There's not really a whole lot I would change about it. Wouldn't mind doing something with the steering, make it turn a little bit sharper. Otherwise, it's good to go. My articulated wheel loader, that's in here. This is pretty much done. I don't think there's anything I would change on it. Other than someday if I could figure out how to slow down the hydraulics, that would be about it.